saying that I think it's so important that anybody, you have a plan, right? You've sort of thought out things like Diamox. You've thought out, oh, I'd like to use porters or not, but you remain flexible because even if you'd climbed Aconcagua before, that's not necessarily a guarantee of how it's going to go the next time. And so you have to remain flexible with that plan. I think flexible and aware of your body, your surroundings, your team, how you're feeling, your pace, in order to have a successful climb. I've seen a lot of people who, using the porter example, are like, I'm absolutely not going to do it. Like, this is how I'm going to climb it. And for some people, maybe it's all or nothing, and that's okay. But if your goal is to get to the summit and back safely, you've got to often make some adjustments to that plan. So I'm happy to hear that you were able, and we were actually communicating via WhatsApp while you were at base camp, just kind of talking through those things and making sure that you were just making the right decision for you relative to those goals. So let's talk about training for a minute, because I think that, during COVID, I, as a coach, had to get very creative with training. And people come to me and, some people have like a full gym in their basement. Some people have access to mountains. Some people live in Dubai and they have, nothing. Other people, everyone's different is the point. So you trained you have easy access to mountains where you live and to lots of trail running, which is fantastic. But outside of that, you just built a small home gym in your house that you used for all your training. And I think it's important for people to know that your gym equipment is really pretty simple.
Right. Just a couple of kettlebells and a couple of dumbbells. And I have a Peloton at home, but I don't have any, I don't have a bench press, like a squat rack and all of those other equipment. I just lay out a mat, one of those foam mats in my living room, and then I'll do the exercises that you tell me, or I have a step up, the step up thing so to do those particular exercises, but very minimal, just a bunch of weights, free weights, some dumbbells, kettlebells for Turkish get-ups and the other things. And then everything we do is in my living room. I'll just set up a mat, I'll just move stuff in the living room and do all my exercises, and then move it out because that's where I have space.
I think that's great. I think it's important that people realize that it's my job as a coach to, adapt the training for what your environment is. And so I love that you're able to do it with, just minimal stuff in your home. It's great because not everyone has access to a gym all the time. So we'll sort of wrap things up a little bit. Is there anything anything else about Aconcagua or your trajectory into climbing that you would share with people that you think is good from a learning perspective? Something good to share?
I was questioning myself when I got there. I was like, oh, maybe I bit off too much, too fast. Like maybe I should have done, the mountains in Bolivia or Ecuador. There's lots of other intermediate.
Yep.
I don't think you can know. I think that also trying to push yourself to do something that is not absurdly outside of my range of capabilities. I think that I ran the trips by you, right? And I said, hey, do you think it's appropriate for me to sign up for this, given where I am and your experience with my training? I trust you as a coach because you've known me for a year and a half, like all of my training details, like everything about my capabilities with it and the climbs that I've done, whether or not I could do this kind of trip. And then, trying, even though it seems like outside your comfort zone, right? Or that might seem like more of a stretch, but then, I trusted that if you said that I could do it and you've, with training for a while then I was like comfortable. And I was like, I did the right thing. And then we were successful. So, and at the end of it, finished the climb and I didn't feel sore, like I didn't have anything, you said, like no muscles, like no, I didn't have any soreness, or I never felt that at any point my strength wasn't sufficient. Coming down descending the mountain, I never felt like, oh, I'm unsafe descending because I've used all my
Right.
strength.
Yep.
Going up the mountain, like, and so the altitude was new, but I think that was going to happen at some point.
Right.
And yeah, just sort of, I think that you should try things that are a bit of a stretch. You can't go, and why not, right? It was tough, but at the end it was so worth it. Like, I mean, I just can't,
Yeah.
I can't express like how, what it means, right? Like having finished that mountain. So
Yeah.
and
It takes some time to process. It takes some time, I think, anytime you take on a big goal. And if you would, whether you achieve it or not, I think there's still learning, there's still things that you gain. And it always takes time for that to sort of soak in and settle, and for you to realize like what you've benefited, not just in terms of rounding out your resume as a mountaineer, but in terms of what you've gained. Often it's confidence, or it's, finding your voice. Or I know for me, I gained a lot of confidence by climbing and by being in situations that I wasn't sure I could figure my way out of. And then, in fact, I was able to, and that helped me gain more confidence, not just in the mountains, but in life too. So yeah, mountains are very important teachers, I think, for all of us. So you're headed to Whitney one more time. You're going to do a winter climb coming up in a couple weeks.
April. So we're going to prepare, because I think we're going to do Rainier and
Yes.
Couts and route finally in the end of July. So it's sort of a brush up. I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to it.
And I love that you're getting back to Rainier, right? That was, where your initial interest started. And now you've accomplished harder routes and harder mountains than what you'll experience even on the Couts on Rainier. But I love that you're coming back to that mountain that sparked your interest initially. And it's one of my favorite mountains to climb. So,
Yeah.
well, what's after that? Have you thought, and sometimes I get annoyed when people ask me this question, so you can tell me no, but have you thought beyond this summer and your climbs in the Cascades and the Sierras?
I think everyone was talking about, on the trip anyway, I think we've talked about it too, is like trying for Denali eventually, but just like when to do it. And now knowing, okay, how much, I think the strength component, like getting better at, I think there are some deficiencies, training, and I'd like to be better at doing strength training, knowing that that's such a huge part of Denali. And there's a lot of prep courses you can do for Denali, but I'd like to. I think that it's one of the ones that I definitely, it's definitely now something that I'm like, yeah, that's something I really want to.
Yeah.
I really want to do it. I just don't know when and like how much prep. Again, if I sort of like trust the process, and when you say, hey, it's okay for us to think about it, and for a particular year, then that's where I'd like to go.
Yeah. Well, it'd be an honor to help you prepare. And it's been super fun so far to watch you go from no backpack to the summit of Aconcagua. Well, thank you so much, Peter. I appreciate you taking the time to share not just your experience on Aconcagua, but just, how you've gotten into climbing and mountaineering with other people. So thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you, Lisa.
Let me just stop the recording.